Hey, everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're going to spend some time with Lafourche Parish, and more specifically with the Lafourche Parish Sheriff. Sheriff Craig Webre is joining us via Zoom, so we appreciate him being with us. And first of all, we appreciate you being with us. It's good to see your face. How you doing? And give us a little update on what's going on.
Well, I appreciate being seen, as you kind of alluded to. I went through a very serious medical situation with a heart attack on August 21st, and it's unbelievable. I am a living testament to the power of prayer, to the grace of God, and the miracles of modern medicine. August 21st was a hot, humid Sunday, and I had been out in the yard doing some work around on the mower and kind of getting really, really hot and overheated and sweating. And after I'd finished my what I was setting out to do, I went to the house to cool off. My day was over. It was close to 7, maybe 6:50. I'd sweat a lot, so I went in, kind of took those sweaty clothes off, and I was just sitting on the in a chair, kind of absorbing the air conditioning, drinking water, and waiting to take a shower. I was going to take a shower. I was then going to go see my sister and her husband, have dinner, and make my way to Nichols University for 9 p.m. Mass. And I guess, and where I'm seated at, I'm looking at the clock. There's a clock on the wall, so I'm cognizant of my time. And at 7:15, I get a funny sensation right in the sternum. And I think automatically it's probably dehydration. I worked really hard, sweat a lot. Let me drink a little bit more water and maybe some Gatorade and try to get over this. And then I started with cramping in my fingers. So it almost confirmed in my mind that I had dehydration. But I waited and watched the clock, and around 8:45, 30 minutes into this sensation started to become more of a pain. And I had been processing, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, dehydration, and cardiac. What really threw me off was I didn't have any classic cardiac signs. I didn't have a crushing pain like they talk about an elephant sitting on your chest. I didn't have anything radiating in my arm or jaw. I didn't have nausea. I didn't have cool, clammy skin. And so I'm thinking, but the only thing that led me to think maybe heart is because where it was located. And as it turned out, I ended up having 100% blockage in the widowmaker, but mine was a blood clot blockage. It wasn't 100% of a plaque blockage. And I didn't know this till after I came off of the ventilator and met with the doctor on Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning, really, that plaque can sometimes be unstable and can fracture or rupture. And at that point, the heart then starts to clot blood at that site like it's an injury. And the danger with that type of a heart attack or blockage is the window of opportunity to get into the hospital is at best 2 hours. Because once the blood clots and seals off that artery, the tissue dies and you die. The other thing that makes it dangerous is you don't have classic heart attack signs from the beginning. You don't have what I just described.
Right.
So I come into the emergency room. My sister brings me there. I call her and say, look, we have to cancel dinner, but if you don't mind, can you take me to the emergency room? I said, I just feel odd. I'm really not sure. I want to get checked out as a precaution. We pull up, and as luck would have it, someone's getting discharged. I get into a wheelchair, get right into the ER. They do an EKG, and I'm going to the cath lab, right? And so they're prepping me. They're putting the gown on. They're putting lines in my, pushing meds and putting lines, giving me nitroglycerin. And now I really got the pain. I know there's no doubt that this is serious. So I'm on my way to the cath lab. Before I go into the cath lab, the last conscious thing that I remember, because I was going into unconsciousness in and out, but I could still hear. And I always heard when you were unconscious, your hearing was the last thing you lost. I heard the medical staff asking my family if I had advanced directives. And I could process enough to know, hey, man, that's why they pull the plug and harvest your organs. This is serious.
Yeah.
And it gave me just enough time to ask God for repentance and if it'd be my time to take me into the gates of heaven. But it wasn't my time. However, I coded in the emergency room. I went into what's called ventricular fibrillation, where the heart is quivering and it's not producing any blood or oxygen to the body, so you die. So typically at that point, they shock you with a defibrillator. and I was shocked about 6 times. And rather than bringing my heart into a regular pumping rhythm, my heart flatlined, and I was code blue. And at that point, CPR began, and they did about 8 minutes of CPR before the heart restarted, got me into the cath lab, shocked me one more time, cleared out the clots, put in 2 stents, put in a balloon pump to help the heart pump, kept me sedated, and kept me on a ventilator all day Monday. And then Tuesday morning, they woke me up and took the ventilator off and explained to me what happened. And I was shocked. I said, man, I was pretty deep in the woods here,
Yeah,
right?
you were.
But since I've been released from the hospital, I feel great. I don't have any residual pain. I don't have any unsteadiness or any weakness or any of that. I don't have any dizziness. I'm doing cardiac rehab, following my doctor's orders, cutting back on sodium, cutting back on red meat and fried foods. But I will say this. I was not negligent in my health care. I get a physical every year.
You'd lost a lot
I
of
had
weight.
one in November, but it was a general physical. It wasn't a cardiologist physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage anyone, and use this platform to encourage anyone over the age of 50, particularly if you have family history, to see a cardiologist, because there are much more detailed things that they can do in checking the heart function. And heart is still the #1 killer of people, I think, over the age of 34 in the country. So it's not like more people are dying of cancers or car crashes. You know, myocardial infarction or heart attacks is still the predominant killer. And, you know, the doctor said a couple of things. He said, one, there are 4 things that you can have some control over: diet, exercise, nicotine, and stress. He says, if you had done all 4 things perfectly your entire life, it still doesn't fix genetics.
Right.
So the genetics in your family suggest that you're at risk for a heart attack. Please don't end up on a stretcher or a table getting somebody doing CPR on your chest and praying for the grace of God to keep you alive.
Well, no doubt. Well, you're lucky you weren't at your house with a VFib too, because you'd have been in big trouble there for sure. So it has been one heck of a couple of years, right? We go right out of COVID for 2 years into a hurricane, and then the next August, Ida, yeah. And then while we're all cleaning up, you decide to have a heart attack. So glad to have you with us. You almost sound like a cardiologist now. You learned a lot from going through the process. You say you only missed a couple of weeks before you were back at the office. How's that been transitioning back to work?
Phenomenal. You know, I came in, I snuck in early just to make sure that they hadn't changed the keys to the door.
Wait, why having a special election?
Yeah, that's right. It was a great reception, and since I've been back, I've maintained a regular schedule. Actually, I feel so good. If I'd have woke up at home in my own bed, they'd have never convinced me I had a heart attack. And I can't say enough good about Thibodeau Regional Hospital and the Cardiovascular Institute of the South. I've enjoyed great health all of my life. I've probably missed 5 days of work in over 40 years of working for all of the agencies, in particular the sheriff's office. So I've been blessed. Never needed to go into a hospital or emergency room, but that first experience made me appreciate what a jewel, how fortunate this region is to have that sort of capacity. And I will also say, and I know we're going to talk about other things, so I'll just close real quickly to say that what was also encouraging is I'm going to cardiac rehab, and there are people there who had bypass surgery, stents, and other procedures 10, 15, 20, even 30 years ago, and they've led fully functional, happy, active lives. So that's encouraging. And one of the conversations I had with a doctor, he said, Craig, I'm going to tell you something that may sound strange to you. He said, you're probably not going to die of a heart attack. I said, well, it does sound strange because I'm in here for a heart attack. He said, well, think about it. Right now, your heart is at its optimum pumping because we've cleared out all the blockages. You're going to be closely monitored for as long as it takes for the rest of your life. And the medications that are available today to treat conditions like this are so far advanced that they actually prevent this from happening again. So it really is encouraging for a future outlook as well.
Yeah.
So,
like you had an oil change. Yeah, you had an oil change. You're ready to go for another 100,000 miles. So you're good to go, Sheriff.
I am. Very much.
So, the recovery, obviously, your outlook at all? You change when you come back to work after something like that? Do you look at things differently now?
You know, what I do is I appreciate people and I take more time. I didn't want to make, and I still haven't made any rash decisions about anything in my life because I feel so good and because I don't want to be, I want to have the full benefit of recovering and seeing where I am and then deciding. I love the people I work with. I love the people I work for, and I love the job. I'm fully committed to seeking reelection next year. I don't see anything to change that unless my doctor tells me, get all your affairs in order. You got another problem that we didn't tell you about. I love my daughter. Has just been such a joy. She started preschool recently, and so I took her to her first day of preschool, and that was really worse than the heart attack. I mean, I was crying like a baby, you know, but she's such a joy in my life. So I've got a lot of positive things to look forward to, and focusing on health and my spiritual commitment and my job and my family are all the things that are important to me. And also trying to, if not be at odds with anyone. I don't want to have ill will or anything along the lines, harsh feelings towards people. And I've always tried to avoid that and accept people as they are. And to the extent that there are people that have an issue, I want to open the door for them to come so we can sit down and resolve it.
Right. That's that stress you were talking about, right? Because look, we all self-induce our stress, right? And if you have a conflict with somebody, a lot of times they don't even know there's a conflict, but you're doing it to yourself.
True, Bill, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, somebody said something about vengeance. They said vengeance is like taking poison and waiting for your enemy to die.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So yeah, we're going to make this 3 segments. We'll have another segment to talk a little more about what's happening. But yeah, let's finish up another minute here to go about, you know, the office, how you guys are running. I know you're everybody's looking for offices right now. So how's the office going right now?
Overall, the office is functioning exceptionally well. Of course, I have a stable staff of people who have been with me for 30 years. And the culture of the organization is so well ingrained that for the time that I was out, they didn't even miss a beat. But you know, we are like everyone else, would like to have a few extra staff people on hand. However, the people that we have are doing the job. We've instituted some efficiencies. We're using a lot more digital evidence and digital communication. We've streamlined where we can and need to streamline. And we're going to be fine. We're going to get through this and everything will go back to normal.
Look, fall is that time. It looks like hopefully we get enough cool fronts in here to move out of hurricane season into the fall season. Got a lot going on. Of course, you always have Friday Night Football and all the festivals that happen in the fall. I know we had the Gumbo Festival in Chack Bay last weekend, but Halloween's always a big event, particularly for your staff, I'm sure.
Yeah, for many years, we have been doing something we call the Blue Light Special. In fact, probably for 31 years. And on Halloween night, the entire criminal workforce, if you have a police car, a unit, then you're required to ride into the neighborhoods and the populated areas where people trick or treat with your lights on at a low speed, just as a warning to people that maybe have forgotten it's Halloween, that don't have children or don't participate, to be on the lookout for the trick or treaters. And that has proven to be very effective in preventing tragedies. We've been blessed not to have a trick-or-treater ever lost or harmed because of, I think, that high visibility. And we're going to do it again. And Halloween is unique because it can be any day of the week. It's not one of these holidays that's always on a Monday. So consequently, you never know if you're going to have a Saturday where there's a lot of traffic or a Monday or Tuesday. This year, of course, it's a Monday. But we have our grid set up. We get out into the communities. Also gives us direct face-to-face contact with the constituents and the children so they can see law enforcement in a positive way. So we're looking forward to it. We want to encourage people. And you know, there's safety tips that you can use as a trick-or-treater as well as people who are handing out treats. If you're handing out treats, of course, you want a well-lit area. You don't want someone walking up to your front door and tripping over a sidewalk or a cable or something left in your yard. So try to light it up as best you can. And if you have dogs, particularly animals that, you know, would bark a lot or be fearful, make children fearful, it may be cute if it's a nice puppy that everybody wants to pet, But if it's a dog that has some aggressive tendencies, I'd strongly encourage you to keep it away. And of course, parents, when you're supervising your children, make sure you have brightly colored costumes that fit them well so they're not tripping, and stay off of the phone. Don't be texting and sending email, and then you start turning your head and there's 10 other people in witches' costumes and you're not sure which one's your child. And have some plan for where you can meet up if you happen to be separated. And then when you get home, look at all the treats. And if something is in a container that's been opened or tampered with, it's not worth taking a chance. Just put it in the garbage can. So those are the typical safety tips that'll make Halloween a pleasurable event and something that people can look forward to and enjoy from year to year.
Yeah, from a staffing standpoint, Lafourche is unique in many ways, but you're almost about 100 miles long from the tip to the tip. So I would imagine staffing is one of those things like, hey, we got to spread out and make sure we cover this whole parish.
Well, it's kind of like in St. James Parish, on Christmas Eve, they have the bonfires. So all of their deputies have to work. This is the one night a year that all of our deputies have to work, except for maybe a disaster or
the
something.
hurricanes.
So we get that extra coverage because, everyone with a car is required to come out and put in their 2 or 3 hours during that Halloween period.
Yeah, so a good time. So the fall, I know there's a lot of sugar cane that goes on. This is the grinding season. You see a lot of trucks on the road. Does that change anything for law enforcement? With all those kind of trucks on the road and that kind of stuff?
Traffic is always a challenge, especially during grinding season, and it's usually not the fault of the people that are trying to take their crop to the mill. It's people who are behind the cane truck and they decide they're going to make an unlawful pass, or they're going to in a hurry to get somewhere. So far, the weather has cooperated so well with the farmers on their behalf that we really haven't had that mud on the road. Well, when that mud starts getting on the road, that becomes a problem, and we have to respond and assist the farmers in getting the road clear, and sometimes do extra traffic control. But I think another thing is the advance in the way that they cut the cane up in the little billets, and they don't burn like they used to burn the cane and have the whole stalks falling out of the back of the trucks onto the road, where people would, or if they'd pass under a tree on overpass, they would knock sugar cane off into the windshields of the people. So you have to really give credit to the industry. The industry itself has evolved, and they've made some changes that make the process a much safer one for everyone involved.
Yeah, no doubt. And you can tell for sure. And look, the lack of rain on roads and mud and all has certainly helped a lot of people. We were just talking to Wendell a little while ago. He was talking about, they were able to do so much more work on levees this year that they haven't been able to do for a long time. So that leads us right into the Christmas holidays after that, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So again, a special time, and I'm sure you'll be looking out for drivers and that kind of safety.
For several years now, we've partnered with the surrounding local law enforcement agencies and Louisiana State Police and Troop C, and they call it Zero for December, and hopefully the concept is to have no fatality crashes during the holidays. I mean, any loss of life is tragic whenever it occurs, and to whoever it occurs to, and their loved ones that are left behind, but especially around the holidays when you get into that Christmas season, kind of Thanksgiving leads you into the Christmas, New Year's season, and you hate to see a family suffering with a tragedy of planning a funeral and burying a loved one during that period of time because of an irresponsible driver.
Right. Well, Sheriff, certainly glad to see you. Looks like you're in great health, in great spirits. You overcame, a big event in your life for sure, but looks like you're raring to go and things look great.
Full speed ahead. Thank you for taking some time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Sheriff Webre of Lafourche Parish. So thanks so much for joining us here on Bayou Time. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Harry McCullough. We'll see you next time right here on HTV.